Good afternoon and welcome to the Big Bing Conversion webinar. I hope everyone is excited to be attending today. Let's get started by getting to know each other a little better. So I'll turn on my webcam and wave to everyone. My name is Jessica Michaels, and I'm on the training, Google, and Bing team here at Call Tracking Metrics. I'm proud to say that I've been a member of the team here for over 3 years. I find marketing optimization and strategy to be exciting, and I'm hoping to drop some knowledge and spark some excitement in all of you today. I wanted to start today with addressing the power of feedback and announce one of our 2018 initiatives here at Call Tracking Metrics. We've reviewed the feedback we've received through various sources like G2 Crowd, Trustpilot, support ticket surveys, and other review sites. And as a result, a big initiative for us in 2018 is going to be improving our training resources. So me personally, I'm actually moving out of our marketing department and into a training role with the company. And in this role, we're going to be featuring things like monthly topical webinars like this one. So this is our first webinar in the series, and we had over 100 registrations. So thank you everyone for making this a big success. The team and I are going to be hosting topical webinars on the third Thursday of every month. Next month, we're going to be covering our integrations with Wix, Unbounce, and WordPress. So keep a lookout for that. We're also going to be relaunching our Call Tracking Metrics University. We've decided to shake things up, and we're going to be offering a week-long training. And these are going to be shorter sessions. They're going to feature new topics like Salesforce, the dialer, Google Analytics, Bing, and then basic call tracking metrics functionality. These live trainings will be reoccurring monthly and starting in April. And all these training resources are going to be free. And lastly, we're going to be working on building out a video library with step-by-step directions on how to achieve different things. There's going to be a survey after this webinar. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover in a webinar or training video, let us know. Your feedback is highly valuable to us. But enough about me. Let's get to know a little bit about all of you and become a little bit more familiar with our GoToWebinar control panels. So if you can hear me, raise your hand. There should be a little hand raise in your GoToWebinar panel. Make sure everyone can hear me. All right, I see hands going up all over the place. Good stuff. All right, if you can see me waving at you, raise your hand. If you can see my screen. All right, I see hands going up all across the board. Great. Looks like everyone can both hear and see me. Next, there's a question box. If you can find the question box, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me your name, what business you're working for, something about the weather. If you have any questions during the webinar, I'm going to have all of your mics on mute, and then we'll address the questions afterwards. Let's see, I see some people saying it's snowing. We got a snowy and cold. Oh, we have some people from Mexico. Lucky you, it's cold here. I don't know if you can see out my window, but it's also very cold and snowy here. So great, it looks like everyone can hear, see me, and we know what the question box is. So let's get started. Okay, so why do we keep talking about phone calls? Well, did you know that almost 70% of marketers report that they don't have the ability to track inbound calls to leads and sales in their CRM systems? This conversion blind spot is particularly significant when you consider that calls drive 10 times more sales than clicks. For us marketers, conversions are everything. You should be taking every metric into consideration to optimize your online campaigns, increase your conversion rates, and lower your overall cost per acquisition. The conversion gap for phone calls is unfortunate, leaving marketers with a huge conversion blind spot. Not being able to attribute calls generated by online campaigns after the click takes place limits marketers to not only showing the full effectiveness of their marketing efforts. It also means that the return on investment for advertising and marketing dollars are not being accurately reflected. This is why we're so excited Bing has heard our voices and has released the option for offline conversions. Bing has actually made an awesome video for us, so please enjoy.
Has this ever happened to you? A customer clicks on your ad, fills in some information on your website, and then a week later calls you up and completes a conversion? It's great that you got the conversion, but it's too bad there's no connection between the conversion and the ad that led to it. Well, now you can track what we call offline conversions in Bing Ads to make sure your ad and keyword performance data shows you the whole picture. To start off, you just need to create a conversion goal for your campaign's offline conversions. You have the option to assign a fixed monetary value for each offline conversion, or to set the value of each offline conversion when you import them. Then you'll need to have two things configured outside of Bing Ads in order to track offline conversions. First, your website needs to be able to capture the click ID we'll send to the site whenever a customer clicks your ad. This is done by adding a small snippet of code to your site. And you need to have a customer relations management system that stores customer data, including click IDs. This is so that advertisers know which customers converted, how much they paid, and which click the transaction was coming from. You can then download an offline conversions template from Bing Ads, enter all the click IDs, conversion goal names, times, and values, and upload it back into Bing Ads. Now your Bing Ads data will give you a more comprehensive view of how your ads, keywords, bids, and targeting are working. Get the whole picture with Bing Ads offline conversion tracking.
All right, sorry that was so choppy. I don't know why that happened. Only in live presentations does that type of thing happen. All right, so what's all this growing chatter about Bing? Well, Bing powers nearly 1 out of every 3 search in the US. Skipping Bing Ads means you're missing out on 59 million searches that you can't reach through Google AdWords. In addition to that, the average cost per click for Bing is about 1/3 the cost of advertising on Google. So I actually have some fun polls I was going to launch, see if we can get some feedback from you guys. So the first one is, are you currently running Bing Ads? Pretty simple, it's yes or no. So like I said, I think we have just over 100 people on this, so we'll see what the results are. All right, let's take a look and share the results. So actually, wow, about 3/4 of us are actually currently running Bing Ads. Pretty cool. And what percentage of your advertising budget is allocated to Bing? Let's see, none at all, less than 5%, less than 50%. This is really just for research purposes. This obviously isn't getting shared anywhere, but all right, looks like most of us have voted. Let's take a look. So a good handful with no budget, less than 5%. Looks like the majority is between 5 and 25%. That's about what I expected to see. Very cool. And then I have one last poll just for fun. Do you like Google AdWords' new interface? This is, I'm also on our Google team here, so I just love to get the feedback on this. All right, it's kind of all over the board. All right, let's take a look at the results. So it looks pretty even. About 1/3 of us like it, 1/3 of us don't like it, and actually a little bit more, the majority is just kind of meh. Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks for participating in the surveys. All right, let's talk about Bing. So we're really excited that we now have a direct integration with Bing. We could always track Bing campaign information inside of call tracking metrics, but the big difference between then and now is before it used to be one-way communication. So we were able to see all the campaign data attributed inside of call tracking metrics, but we weren't able to send that data back into Bing to have it show in there as conversions and make optimization inside of Bing right there. So now Bing has unleashed offline conversions for everyone. I think this became public in the end of November. So with this, we now have the ability to manually upload conversions. We can automate conversion uploads. We're able to capture the campaign ad group and keyword level attribution. We can send in call sale conversions, as well as attribute revenue to those conversions. So this is exciting stuff. We're going to review a few concepts before we go into the demo of how to set all this up. With call tracking, there's really four key things that, four key players to make all this work properly. One is going to be the tracking number, and that's going to be the actual number that we're swapping out on your website. And then next is going to be the tracking source. The tracking source refers to the advertising channel that you want to track. In this case, the tracking source would be named something like Bing Paid or Bing Ads. An important concept to understand is that Bing Paid and Bing Call extensions cannot share a tracking number. This is because one is an off-site source and one is an on-site source. So what this means is when a caller hits your website or landing page and then places a call, that's going to be an on-site source. While in the case of an ad extension, the visitor actually never visits your website, so it's a direct call without encountering your website. So because the two are so different, that one is an on-site source and one is an off-site source. So it is critical that you do not share a tracking number for your Bing Paid and Bing Call extensions, because it could massively corrupt your data. And then next is the target number. The target number is the number on your website that we're actually going to be swapping out with the tracking number. And then the receiving number is just the number where the tracking number is going to ring. So that typically the target number and the receiving number are the same thing. All right, well, let's switch into the product. All right, here is our the call log. Over here, this is going to be the contact information from the caller that we're able to get. Here we can see the tracking source and the tracking number that was dialed. Next, we have the session data column. This is going to show us the landing page that the visitor came from. This is showing us the referring site, and this is going to show us the search term. We can click, I think, anywhere inside of here, and it's going to expand the column. And over here, we can see the campaign data, the ad group, the keyword source, medium, and then the ad content that we were able to get from the call. So pretty cool. Right here, we can see all the session data. But like I said before, we could actually always do that. The big change now is that we're able to send that data back into Bing. So let's review on how to set that up. So what we would do is we would go to our integrations. We would jump over to Bing. Let me unlink this real quick. So if you haven't set up yet, it would look something like this. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get a developer token. This is actually super easy to do. If we just click this link right here. I've already had one generated, so I would just copy this. If you didn't have one generated yet, there would just be a button and it would say activate, and then it takes literally just a second and then it'll populate a number for you. So we would take that, paste it in, say link to Bing. The next step is going to be to assign an account. So just like with call tracking metrics, you can have a master and a lot of sub accounts. In AdWords, you can have a merchant center. Bing does the same thing. So you want to make sure that you're linking to the correct account. In this case, we only have one. So we want to go ahead and save that. So this has linked us to Bing. And with this, we can automatically send conversions into Bing after the call is completed. But what we have to do is we have to tell Bing what conversion to assign the call to. So in this case, we might want to do something like inbound call. It's going to give you the option to put the currency or a default value. These both are optional. And with this, it's going to automatically send the conversion into Bing after the call. If you wanted to do this in a manual process, you could uncheck that. But I like to keep things easy. Let's automatically do that. We also have the ability to send conversion calls or call sale conversions into Bing. So what that means is if you score a call inside of the call log, we'll send a separate conversion into Bing, and we'll use the value of the scored call as the conversion value, which I can show you real quickly what that would look like. So as we see right here, we had a call scored for $20. What this would do is it would send a separate conversion into Bing, and the conversion value for that would be $20. And in this case, it would be $1,500. And then if you are sending call sale conversions, if you don't specify the conversion name, it'll send a duplicate of this. So we probably want to specify. So in this case, this one, we called it inbound call. And then maybe I want this to be a call sale. Make sure you save it. It does not auto save. So there we have it set up. Just like we have with Google AdWords, we're able to get campaign data from the Bing call extensions. So the setup is it's identical to our Google AdWords call extension setup, minus there's no scripts involved because it's all through the API. So what you would want to do here is you would just want to select the source that you have assigned. Should populate all your offline sources. In this case, we'll say Bing ad extension. The delay right here is strictly in regards to Google Analytics. And then in the case that we're not able to attribute campaign data to the call, we can write in some defaults. And this is, again, going to be in reference to Google Analytics, but we could set the source as Bing and the medium as CPC. And then we can go ahead and save that. And that is setting up the integration on the call tracking metrics side. Pretty easy, right? Pretty pain-free. So the next thing about this is the MS Click ID. So just like Google has the GCL ID, which is Google's paid click identifier, with Bing, they're using an MS Click ID, which is their paid click identifier. The next step we're going to need to do is to ensure that this is turned on inside of Bing. And I will show you how to do that. So here we have our Bing account. In order to enable offline conversions, you would simply need to go to your conversion goals and create a new conversion. In this case, let's say this will be our call sale. While if you're a seasoned call tracking metrics user, you'll probably be prone to go to the event, but in this case, we're not working with events, we're working with offline conversions. So we would want to go here and select that. And actually creating your first offline conversion is what enables the MS Click ID to go into the URL. So that is it for that. The next thing is going to ask you a few questions around your conversion. The first one is going to be the scope. Do you want that to go into one account or across all of your Bing accounts? I would think one account would probably be the best bet. It's going to ask you to configure your revenue. We're just going to leave it at don't assign a value. And next we have count, which is allows you to select how you want your conversions to be counted. So for example, if somebody clicks your Bing ad and then calls 5 times, do you want that to count as 5 conversions, or do you want that to count as 1 conversion? So it would be 5 repeat callers would be 5 conversions, or unique would be that if the person calls 5 times, that this would be 1 conversion. So that's really whatever makes the most sense to your business model. And then next is the conversion window. So this is really just in reference to the cookie. Typically, I think all your cookies, or it's a best recommendation that all your cookies be the same in your different platforms. Standard and call tracking metrics, the cookie is 30 days. It looks like the standard here is 30 days. So we are in good shape. So I can go ahead and save that. I already have that goal name created. Call sales. All right, and then my my goal is my conversion is built, and we're in good shape. So now I can see the new one I created is right here. Here's one that I created earlier this week, and this is all being automated. So far we've had 4 conversions come in through inbound calls, and that's really the gist of setting it up. Let me switch back to our slides. One of the things that I've noticed since we've started with Bing is that I kind of have to unteach a lot of our clients the Google ways, because although Bing and Google are very similar and you can actually import your entire AdWords campaign into Bing, they actually function quite differently, and the way that we report with them is quite different than the way we report with Google. So with our Google Analytics and AdWords integration, this is what I always call our 3-legged stool to make it work. So first, call tracking metrics and Google Analytics have to be connected. Google Analytics and Google AdWords have to be connected, and Analytics really plays as a middleman in this field. But with our Bing integration, we actually don't have the Analytics middleman. We're communicating directly with Bing, so that eliminates the need for us to send events and for there to be goals created around those events for that to in turn be conversions. So it's really a direct communication, which is pretty sweet. A few other differences between the 2 integrations is the terminology. So both Bing and AdWords offer auto tagging. In Google AdWords, auto tagging adds the Google paid click ID to the URL, which again is known as the GCL ID, while in Bing, auto tagging adds UTM parameters to the URL, which would be something like this. So auto tagging in the different platforms actually does entirely different things. So what Bing just introduced was offline conversions, and it's Bing's offline conversion option that actually adds in the MS Click ID. So same terminology, different meanings. So those are all in a bubble. Again, because it's a direct communication between Bing and call tracking metrics, there's no need for events or goals inside of analytics. It's going directly from call tracking metrics into Bing. And then next, I wanted to talk about call extensions, because there's a pretty big difference between the way that Google and Bing handle call extensions. One of the main differences is that at this time, Bing doesn't offer conversions for call extensions. In Google, that's a conversion action that Google handles, and that's using their forwarding numbers. And then inside the extension in the click to call setup, you have the option to have these calls marked as a conversion. At this time, Bing doesn't offer that. We have really good contacts at Bing, and we've given them feedback. So we're hoping to see this in the future. Another thing about Bing is that Bing call extensions do not offer the capability to have calls generated from your call extensions. Oh, I was just saying that, count as conversions. So just like in AdWords, Bing offers call forwarding numbers for tracking purposes. A Bing forwarding number is necessary for us to attribute campaign information. So if just like with our Google AdWords integration, if you're doing ad extensions, it needs to be a forwarding number ringing to us, and then because the two systems are tracking, then we're able to capture the campaign information. And again, just like with our AdWords integration, Bing doesn't 100% of the time provide a forwarding number, meaning the campaign data isn't always guaranteed. It's also worth noting that the Bing forwarding numbers aren't always true phone numbers. So what I mean by that is that they use Skype numbers. And in the call log, when they use Skype numbers, it means that you can't call them back. So I actually have a screenshot to explain that. So if you see something like this in the call log, what this is it's actually the Skype number. So with this, what's nice is we're able to give you the attribution, but what's also worth noting is that if this was a missed call, you wouldn't be able to call this person back because it's jumping ahead, because it's not actually a real number. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're using Bing call extensions, that it's great that we can get the attribution, but keep in mind that if you have a missed call, you don't have the ability to call these people back because these aren't real caller IDs. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was Bing timing. So Bing does not operate in real time, just like Google AdWords and Google Analytics don't operate in real time. So the timing for us sending data and data being swapped between call tracking metrics and Bing varies. I haven't got it down, I haven't pinpointed exactly how long it takes, but it looks like it's about 48 hours. So we have some tools to help with troubleshooting. Let me switch back to the call log. Here we go. All right. So what's nice and different from Bing and Google is that with Bing, because their auto tagging actually is putting in the UTM parameters, we're able to capture all the campaign data as soon as the call occurs. So we're able to pull all this in right away. But what's different is that this data might not show up in Bing for up to 48 hours. So I would advise that when you're troubleshooting, I would look at, if today's Thursday, I would look at last week's Monday through Friday information just to give it time to catch up. And in addition to that, we do have some troubleshooting tools. So if we go back to our integration page, we've recently added a log, which is pretty handy. So here it can, what this is looking for is the MS click ID. That's what's determining whether or not we try to send this call into Bing. So this is our system recognizing that there was a call with an MS click ID, and then we're sending that information into Bing. And then right here, we're going to tell you the status of the conversion. So right now, it looks like we're doing fairly well. Looks like 9 out of 10 went through successfully. Sometimes we're going to get an error. We're working on trying to solve all these, but in the case that you do have an error, there is a way to recover it. This is actually the call ID, so if I click into that, it'll give me the call, and I can actually see all the visitor information. I can see that there was in fact an MS click ID, so this should in fact count as a conversion, and I don't want to lose that, right? So we do offer the ability to export the call log, and this way you can do the manual upload like they showed in the video. And we have an export format for that. So just like how with AdWords we can do offline uploads, we can do the same with Bing. So you could create a filter for the calls that didn't go through. You could add the conversion name and the value. That'll give you the file, and then inside of Bing, you would simply need to go to offline conversions, choose your file, and then import and preview. So fairly simple stuff. So just to recap, now we can send calls into Bing as conversions. Call extensions and Bing paid tracking sources need to be separate. The Bing and AdWords integrations seem very much similar, but they are in fact very different. We're not dealing with events or goals inside of analytics to get conversions. We're working with offline conversions and the MS Click ID, and as a result, we're getting happier data. And that is what I have for you today. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the question box. I also wanted to point out some additional resources that we have. If you didn't already know, we do have our Help Center right here where you can search various help articles. We have our blog. That's a great resource. You can chat with us. You can send in support tickets. We actually offer paid support plans where you can actually have us do all the work for you. Like I said, we do have CTM University coming in April. So that'll be exciting. And then if you liked this webinar and want to check out another one, I do host a Google AdWords webinar. I believe my next one is next Thursday. So if you wanted to check that out, you can register for it right here. I don't actually see any questions coming in. I will wait a little longer. Hopefully this whole setup is fairly straightforward. Try to make it as easy as possible. Let me see. Somebody asked, will this be available later to view? Yes. After this is done, it takes a little bit to download, but I will have it up on the blog probably by tomorrow. I have somebody who says they're having trouble getting a developer token. That is most likely if the user login you're using isn't the same login that you're using for your Bing account. If that's not the case, submit us a ticket and we can look into that a little further. It says, will the MS Click ID data be available in the API? That I do not know, but I can get you an answer. I feel like the answer is yes, but I don't know that 100%, so I'm not going to say yes or no. But great question. Let's see, actually. Somebody says, what is the blog URL? I think it's actually just calltrackingmetrics.com/blog. And you can also get to it from in here, I believe. Yep, I can check. Yep, so it's calltrackingmetrics.com/blog. Somebody's interested in the Google AdWords presentation. If you'd like to sign up for that, again, our help is great. Just go to the webinars and it's right there. Oh, awesome, much appreciated. No, thank you. Some people are looking forward to jumping into Bing advertising. I like to hear that. Thanks, I look forward to using the integration in the future. Awesome, we look forward to working with you. Thank you, great, this is great feedback, guys, thank you. All right. Somebody said, so we should always buy 2 numbers. Yeah, so this one, what happens is for an online source, we will try to attribute session data to it. And then we have our algorithm trying to match it. So if you're sharing an online source and an offline source, what happens in that case is that if somebody calls from your ad extension and you're telling our system that this is an online source, we could attribute wrong session or falsely attribute session data to that because the system is telling us that this should have session data. So if an offsite source is sharing the tracking number, we could falsely attribute session data, and then you might make optimization based on a keyword that didn't actually drive the call. So that's why that's really important. It will corrupt your data. So in the case of ad extension versus Bing paid, yes, I would always recommend 2 separate numbers. Same with Google ad extension and a Google paid source. Let's see. Somebody says they don't have a Bing extension at a present source. That's fine. You can always create one. We have just a generic ad extension. So you could even just rename that in the presets just from ad extension to Bing ad extension. Let's see. Questions are still coming in. So somebody says, if we're using both AdWords and Bing, how many numbers should we buy? So that's a little bit of a loaded question because it depends on how many hits your page is getting a day. For Google AdWords and Bing Paid, we would recommend 1 tracking number per 20 sessions to your page to get so that we can accurately match the keyword to the session. So depending on how much traffic you're generating, that's what's going to determine how many numbers you should have, which our team would be happy to help you determine that if you'd like. Okay. It says the value for calls marked as a sale. Any way to have the default value for that, or just enter the value in the call log? So there's kind of a creative workaround for this question. Currently in our integration setup, we don't have the option to put in a standard value. It would just be what is scored. But what you could do is on the conversion side, you could put in a standard value. So if I wanted to edit this, I could say that each conversion has the same value and then put in the default here. So it's kind of overriding our system. So there's a few options for that. Somebody says, is it possible to only send sale conversions and not inbound calls? Yes, we can absolutely do that. That would just be in regards to how you have it configured. So these little toggles here, if you didn't want it to automatically send the conversions for inbound calls, we can just turn that off. Pretty easy. And then leave this checked if you only want it to be for scored calls. Great question. Somebody says, do we need to match the Bing goal configuration with the goal name we used when we set up the integration in the CTM UI, or are those separate goals? So they do need to match. So inside, we're sending a conversion to Bing, and what we're doing here is we're telling Bing which conversion to give it to. So like, let's go here. You can see we have 4 different conversion names here. So sending the conversion into Bing, we have to tell it where to actually send it. So they do need to match. So it is important that capitalization and spacing is consistent between the 2 platforms, or else you'll probably get an error. And we don't want that. All right, the questions are still coming. All right. Do we need a separate number each for AdWords call extensions and another for Bing call extensions. Yeah, I would recommend that. You could probably share that, but it's kind of like overworking the system because then you're going to send all of your AdWords calls into Bing for Bing to check and all of your Bing calls into AdWords for them to check. So it might slow things down. I personally like things a little bit cleaner. I don't know if I would recommend doing that, but will it work? It would probably work. Okay, for someone managing multiple Bing accounts via a single Bing user login with separate CTM account issues, seems like the process assumes a single developer key per user. It does assume a single developer key per user, which is fine because in the integration, it will allow you to choose from the multiple accounts. So if you did have multiple accounts, you could choose here. So you typically, you would set the integration up in each individual account. Hopefully I said that properly. All right, there might have been a few in here that I missed because they all came in pretty quickly. So I will be able to review these afterwards and I can follow up in emails with any of these questions that I didn't address. Again, thank you for attending. I hope to see you all next month for our next topical webinar. Oh, and again, there's going to be a survey after this. If there's a webinar or any type of training video or tool that you would like, let me know and I would love to, get working on these things for you. Thanks again. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.